This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Okay, good evening, good afternoon, everyone. Shalom Aleichem. Welcome. Remind everyone, this evening is the Shiur on the Parsha at 8:30. Everyone's cordially invited to join us. So I have a good tip is offered in the Sefer Tzaddik, how to become God-fearing very quickly. The tip is as follows. Never learn Musar. If you never learn Musar, you're going to think you're God-fearing, even though you're far from it. Could you hear me now? Could you hear me? Yeah. So, the interesting, this is a good tip to become a Yarei Shamayim. What you do is you never learn Musar, and this way you have a better opinion of yourself than the reality is. So that's just a nice little tip. And the unfortunate consequence of our learning Musar is the person recognizes, before you learn Musar, as Rabbi Salanter said, before he learned Musar, he thought everyone else was a Rasha, and he's a tzaddik. And he started learning Musar a little bit more, and he realized he wasn't as big of a tzaddik as he thought. And then he realized that everyone else is a tzaddik, and he's the only one who is at fault. In fact, Rav Petterberg, the primary disciple of Rabbi Salanter, would say, the weapon against the Yetzer Hara is only learning Musar. And therefore the Yetzer Hara's main tactic in this world is to get a person not to learn Musar. Learn Daf Yomi, Amad Yomi, Mishnah Berurah Yomi, Tanakh Yomi, Iyun, Bekiyas, Lamdus, Kabbalah. Learn anything you want. The Yetzer Hara says, just don't learn Musar. In the times of Rabbi Yisrael and Rabbi Itzla, they had these Musar houses, Batei Musar, and apparently they weren't that successful in getting off the ground and spreading, and Rabbi Itzla would say, the fact that it's so difficult for us to establish these Musar houses shows how much energy the Yetzer Hara exerts in actually putting an end to Musar. And we see in our generation that in fact the Yetzer Hara has been so successful that probably none of us have ever even seen a Musar house. I mean, how many yeshivas even have a Musar house today? What is a Musar house? They once asked Rabbi Petterberg that some of the Bnei Yeshiva, I remember when I was a Bacher, I asked Rav Victor Miller, I asked him this question. Do you need to exercise? He said, you have to exercise, you have to walk at least 30 minutes a day. So I said, in Slabodka they exercised? Yeah, they exercised. Said, how about on Shabbos? He said, even on Shabbos you have to exercise. I said, in Slabodka they exercised on Shabbos? He said, yeah, they walked to a very far away dining room. But apparently, they asked Rabbi Petterberg, the Bnei HaYeshiva, that they would stay in people's houses, there was a fear that because they didn't have supervision, maybe when they got home they would read books, inappropriate material. Maybe it's better we should make room for them to sleep in the shul. And Rav Itzla said, yeah, you're right. Taka, we have to look out, we have to be careful what these Talmidim are reading. But even more important to watch out what they're reading is to make sure that they're learning Musar. Because if they don't learn Musar, you could put them to sleep in the Aron Kodesh, they'll light a fire on Shabbos and they'll read Kol Toyeva. Without Musar, somebody could be on Yom Kippur in the Aron Kodesh, said Rabbi Itzla. So more important than supervision is to make sure that they learn Musar. Okay, we're finishing the ninth Middah. The Middah of Vsashlich b'mtzulas yom kol Chatasam, which is basically the fact that even though a Jew may sin and Hashem will designate punishment, and the medium of the punishment will be a particular Rasha, and the Rasha is carrying out the plan of Hashem, nevertheless that Rasha will be punished severely, and all the evil he intended to do will come right back at him, because Midas Hadin has to take effect somewhere and has to have some effect. And not only that, but once the Jew is makabel upon himself the din and accepts the Yisurim, albeit the acceptance is, Ribbono Shel Olam, please give me Yisurim that doesn't involve Bittul Torah, then automatically Midas Harachamim kicks in, and Hashem regrets having sent the Midas Hadin in the first place, and Hashem sticks up for the honor of the Jew, and Hashem will punish the Rasha, even though the Rasha was just doing what he was supposed to do. But once the Jew is Makabel the Din, it's as if the Midas Harachamim takes over. Now what's very interesting is, Rav Goldberg in his Ha'aras on the Talmud Devorah explains even though b'shas ma'isa Hashem is maskim that the Jews should be punished, that is because of the hisgabros and the prevailing of the midas hadin. But once the midas hadin comes out, midas hadin is only shoylate for a moment, like the pasuk says, ki rega bi'apoi. But as soon as the midas hadin comes out, then the midas harachamim reverts. And Hashem, so to speak, is so merachem that he regrets having brought the midas hadin in the first place. To the point where Hashem says, what did I do? Me'asisi. Like Rashi says on the pasuk, Ki yodin Hashem amoy, God judges his people, but immediately, he's misnachem, v'al avodav yisnachem, Hashem immediately regrets it. Now Rav Goldberg cites an analogy in history of this idea, and that is in the Psicha of Eicha. In the Psicha of Eicha, Parsha Chav Daled, it says on the pasuk, "Vayikra Hashem leikim tzvakos b'yem hahu lebechi ulemisped." When Hashem wanted to destroy the Beis Hamikdash, he says, "So long as I'm in the Beis Hamikdash, the goyim cannot destroy the Beis Hamikdash." So, what I'll do is I'll hide my eyes and I won't pay attention to them, and then the enemies will come in. So God swore, and he reverted his right hand, and the enemies came in and they burned it down. And God said, "Oy vay, they burnt it down. I have nowhere to live. Where am I going to go?" Hashem cried. He said, "Meo sisi, what did I do?" And now that they sinned, I have to go back to my original place. I'm going to be a laughing stock. So Metatron came and he fell on his face and Ribbono Shel Olam, I'm crying and you're not crying. So he said, if you don't let me cry now, I'm going to go to a place where I don't have reshus. The bottom line is, HaKadosh Baruch Hu has this Middah that after he allows the Midas Hadin to be activated, he then regrets it and he says, Me'asisi, which Chas v'shalom, what is this? God has a change of heart. God relents. No, the pshat is the Midas Hadin is given license to have a momentary hisoirus. But once it does what it does, the Midas Harachamim kicks in, and the Hanhaga of HaKadosh Baruch Hu is after he allows Midas Hadin to be activated, he kicks in the Midas Harachamim, and that's expressed in the concept of Me'asisi. And as the Devorah says, God is then toivea el boinam. He takes up their cause. Rav Goldberg explains that the point here is that after Hashem regrets allowing the Midas Hadin, not only does Hashem punish the Rishayim, but he takes up the cause and the honor of the Jew. He says this is the meaning of what we say in the bracha of Haravas Rivenu. We say Hanifra Lanu Mitzarenu. He takes our revenge from our enemies. And the Mefarshim ask, what is the word Lanu? And the Avodraham explains that it's coming to add that Hashem shows the nations of the world that after you torment the Jew, not only are you going to be punished, but it's going to be clear that I'm sticking up and taking up the cause of the Jew and taking revenge for their sake. So let's see the conclusion of this Middah. Says the Talmud Devorah at the end of page Chavhei, Gamba Middah zu tzarich lesnaiga adam im chavero. In this way, a person has to conduct himself with his friend. Let's say you see a Russia, and the Russia had hard times. You see a guy, a bad guy, he does averos. I don't know what he did. He did bad stuff. He murdered, he committed adultery, he stole, he spoke by chazar sashatz, he brings his phone into the shul, all the bad things that people could do. And then Hashem punishes him. So what's how are you going to act toward that person? And the person's suffering. Al yisneo, don't hate him. Once he's punished, so the Midas Hadin was Nesoirer, now has to come in Midas Harachamim, you need to love you. Like Chazal say, Achar shenikla harehu ke'achicha. Once he's demeaned, now he's like your brother. V'karev hamordim. You need to draw close the rebels. V'hanenoshim, meaning those people who are being punished by Hashem. It's clear that Hashem's visiting punishment on them because they were wicked. But how do you react to them then? Oh, they're wicked. No, the moment Midas Hadin comes, then you need to be Ma'oira Midas Harachamim. V'rachim aleim, have mercy on them. V'adarabba, now you need to save them from their troubles. You need to go out of your way to save them from their tzara and from their enemies. Don't say, oh, their sin caused it, because as soon as the Midas Hadin is Nisoirer, you need to come in immediately with Midas Haracham and Yal Yomer. Don't say, Avoinoi Garam, their sin caused it. Ela Yerachameo b'midazu, have mercy on them in this measure, Kedepei Rashti. Meaning the concept is just like God's Midas Hadin is Berega, Rega bi'apoi. B'shetzef ketzef histarti panai rega mimech. God's anger is only a moment. So too, the way we view a Rasha is the Midas Hadin perhaps was Nesa'ira for a moment, but immediately after that we have to be Ma'ir Rachamim on them, Kidde Perashti. Okay, this concludes Middah Tes. Be'ezras Hashem Yisbarach. Tomorrow we will learn Middah Yud. Hope everyone has a great day. Yaakov Grant, all the way in London. How you doing? Shalom Aleichem.
Hey, amazing line here. I can hear you and see you. So what I don't understand is that
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.